Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie say hello.
Hello.
We talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL, the National Ice Hockey League, and we are in the same house. We're actually at my uni house in two different rooms, and we've both got Pepsi Maxes. I've given him one of mine. Yeah,
Fresh trim as well.
Yeah, fresh trim. Yeah, looking good. Anyways, today is the Raiders Ice Hockey Club special, and we had a little interview with Jacob Ranson. Really nice guy, wasn't he, Charlie?
Yeah, really nice. I did accidentally call him old, but we'll skip past that bit. I didn't way. Sorry, Jacob, for the advance when he listens back.
No, it was a really good interview. He's actually a sports journalist as well, and that's what I'm hopefully going to become as well. So yeah, it was nice to have a chat with him after. Shall we get straight into it? Because we've introduced our Pepsi Max. The Raiders last season, wow, it was a successful season, I think. What about you?
Well, they went from being dead bottom of the league and missing out playoffs in a heartbreaking fashion to getting to playoff final. Like, fair play to them. Like, we talk about them being the underdogs, but they played it really well. They were unlucky in the final.
Yeah, they could have won it.
For a team it just proves the on paper debate means nothing half the time. Because don't get me wrong, I think they had a good team last year. But on paper, it wasn't a playoff final team, but they beat Peterborough. They were ahead of teams like Swindon, MK, Sheffield, beat Sheffield. Yeah. So, yeah, they proved a lot of people wrong, and they've made some naughty little additions going into next season as well.
They have. They still had some big players last season, though. They had some really good, I think, underrated forwards. We use the word underrated a lot, but they had
the word underrated.
Well, I use it a lot, but they had a lot of players who have amazing two-way games and just work so hard. And I think you can see the difference in some players. And you got to give credit to the coach as well, Sean Easton. He is a quality coach, and he's not a player coach. He's a full-time head coach. And you could definitely see the tactics he employed on the Raiders. Just to put it into context, they finished 6th. Which was solid for them. They got 62 points, only 6 points off Swindon in 5th. And they had 24 losses, but the majority of them were away games, weren't they, Charlie?
Yeah, Raiders were a home team, I think. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
They liked their smaller ice pad. They like bullying teams on their own ice, and it's a great asset to have. It's a huge asset to have. If you can win most of your home games, you're going to make playoffs, you're going to be successful, you're going to be tough to beat, and they really played that into their advantage. But as the season went on, they picked up away game results. So I think the focus for Raiders this season, I think the home form will stay there. But I think the focus for Raiders this year is the away form.
Yeah, if they can nick some points away, I think it's very intimidating at the Raiders. They are definitely top 3 without a doubt. The away games, which I go there and I feel a bit intimidated, actually, with the fans, with the horns. It echoes around the room. If you've been to the Raiders rink, if you haven't been to the Raiders rink, it's a multi-story complex, like a leisure centre, and the ice rink is above the swimming pool. So the swimming pool's on the level below. So yeah, it is nuts. And I like it, but I don't like it at the same time. But yeah, let's get into some of the players last season, because they had the 2 import duo of, well, they did have Leishram, who they've actually signed back. A bit of a spoiler there, but they for the majority of the season they had Gomesic and Roberts, and they did all right for them, didn't they? Last season.
Yeah, they were both good. Roberts. Well, the one thing Raiders have, actually, talking about players, they have players who put the puck in the net.
Yeah.
Roberts was really good at that, like 31 goals, 37 games. That's what they signed him to do, and he did it. And Gomesic, what a two-way beast of a player. Like, it's going to be a loss for them, but yeah, proper privilege to watch him, really. I just thought he played proper hockey, he did.
Yeah, if you don't know, they don't actually have any of the imports they had last. Well, they do have Leishram, I've spoilt that, but they don't have Gomesic or Roberts next season. So they've got 2 fresh imports, but we'll go into that a bit later in the second half. But yeah, Matthew Gomesic, I think it took a bit of time for him to settle in the league and get used to the English hockey. But at playoffs, you could just tell he was one of the most experienced Canadian players. His two-way game was fantastic. And yeah, he was the standout player for me at playoffs. I don't know if he was for you.
Yeah, he was definitely one of them for sure. Just really good.
Yeah.
And whenever he had the puck, he just didn't look like he's going to lose it. He looked comfortable, and he almost made the other team pay attention a little bit more when he had the puck. And yeah, Matthew Gomez here, like really, I remember watching him in his first couple games, thinking he's all right, and then he really just suddenly blew up in the last half of the season. And yeah, he scored a lot of points for them, top point scorer for them. His two-way game was his best attribute, and that's a compliment to him considering he scored 71 points.
Yeah, I think if you look at the points across their team, they actually spread them across the team quite a lot. They had 19 different players with 10 or more points, which is really, really good actually. It shows that Sean plays all those lines. He plays the four lines and gives everyone equal opportunities. And as you said earlier, they've got players who can put the puck in the net. Novak put them in the net at playoffs. Sylvester as well. He knows how to put the puck in the net. We love Jakey. He needs to get on the podcast. But yeah, Jake knows how to put the puck in the net, and they've signed someone who probably can put the puck in the net even better than those players. So we'll go into that a bit later. We interviewed Ranson. Should we get into the interview? Because there's a lot to talk about actually for going into next season. So should we get into this interview of Jacob?
Yeah, enjoy it, guys.
Yeah, really nice interview. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to another interview on the podcast. Charlie, do you want to introduce him?
Yes, we would like to welcome onto the podcast today a player who is a hard-working forward. He is always a pain to play against and doesn't give you a second on the puck. He's played in Canada and Sweden, but more recently known for playing for the Romford Raiders. We would like to welcome onto the podcast number 95, Jacob Ranson. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, we're not too bad, not too bad.
Doing well, busy. How's your summer been away from hockey?
Yeah, it's been really nice. Shame the weather hasn't been as nice as it is currently throughout the whole summer, but it's been good. Managed to get away a few times. Went to Glastonbury Festival and a few different nice adventures. Nice to do some other sort of hobbies and interests away from the ice, I suppose. But
yeah, definitely. With there's going to be even more games next season. So have you managed to get back on the ice ready for next season?
Yeah, so we've been lucky enough to sort of have some summer ice here and there, and been on the odd times. So slowly been getting back on at least sort of once a week the last few weeks as well. We're starting up fully pretty quickly here, and hopefully hit the ground running because we've had a few summer skates and kept ourselves in shape. So yeah,
nice. A lot of teams haven't been able to get on the ice, so it's good that you guys have been able to get together and get to know each other a bit because you've got quite some new faces this summer. Let's look back at last season though. How did you find last season? Because you smashed it in the playoffs and shocked a lot of people.
Yeah, I think last season we were very much the underdogs, weren't we? And came up with the shock results towards the end of the season. But I think it all started for me like back in August time. We became sort of a tight knit group. We got together in August, like away from the ice, got together as a team, and just sort of we rolled with that and became closer and closer throughout the season. I think that's so vital when you get to those later stages in the later stage of the season, once you start to tire as a team, and if you want to run through a brick wall for your teammate, you're going to go that extra yard. And I think that massively paid dividends. We were a hard-working team that were close in the room, and that showed come the end of the season. We probably got a bit of luck. We're not going to deny that. That's, I suppose, anyone will say that, but you need luck on your side. You look at in the NHL playoffs, for example.
Yeah,
it's all about that and taking advantage of it. I think it was a great season, but going to Coventry and just missing out makes you want it that bit more, is what I would say. And I think had we not perhaps been so sort of respectful in that first 10 minutes against Leeds, it could have been a whole different story. We gave them too much respect, and it cost us in the end. And come the end of the game, I think most people watching would say if the game went on a bit longer, we could have even snagged it. So definitely a great season, and one that's probably left us wanting a lot more now, which is good after perhaps a struggling start to life in the National League with some of these bigger clubs than Raiders ourselves.
100%. You obviously mentioned the hard work and just the team bonding together. Do you think that was probably the main reason? And on also being the underdogs, you think those are the main reasons why you were able to creep through playoffs?
Yeah, 100%. I think if so I'm a Canucks fan, honestly, and it's not a great time, but you watch like Florida. I went to watch them in February last year, and it didn't look like they were going to make the playoffs. But that team just put in hard forechecking, hard working style of hockey, and look what happened to them. I know they fell short, much like us in the end, but that sort of pays off. That sort of ethos for me. My game changed massively when I moved to Canada myself, and I think that hard working, chippy style is a great one, and especially when you're playing against some of these higher end, higher budget teams, for example, you have to bring something different to the table, and I think we showed we could do that in the playoffs, and to be honest, a lot of the time on home ice, we just need to nail down that away form really next season, and that will be a big sort of thing that we need to do to really push us forward into the next bracket, I suppose.
Yeah, go on, Charlie.
Yeah. I think Romford as a place is tough to go to. And what's it been like playing there? Because you played there before and then came back. What is it like at Romford? Because it's a fortress last year, and I think it's just going to get better this year. It's a smaller rink, and you guys really make it your own place.
Yeah, so obviously I grew up watching my first ever game, Romford, Rum Valley Way, horrible place for most people to go. And I think probably last year was the first time I felt like Romford had that ethos again where no one wanted to really come there. We were good on home ice. We were chippy. Like you said, it's a smaller rink. It's tight-knit. And that makes that sort of hard forechecking, high-energy game more effective. It's harder to do that sort of game when you go into Sheffield and places. That goes without saying. But we nailed that down. And like you say, hopefully we can take that one step further this year and really make it a hard place to come. And I think the best thing is Romford's always had that. The fans want hard work more than, might sound stupid, everyone would want to watch a high skilled team, but they've always appreciated the hard work first and foremost. And I've always said if there's a hard working team on the ice, win or lose, Romford fans are going to go away happy. And I think we've sort of built on that now and finally made the Sapphire feel like the old Ron Valley way, but a lot nicer feel for the fans and a lot nicer venue, obviously, which is a positive. So
100%. One of the players that stepped up last season, especially near the end of the season, and I think it's hard work in a nutshell, is Matthew Gomesick, and unfortunately he's not with you next season. But how key was he, especially at the back end of last season, for your team in getting you through those games?
Yeah, he was a great guy. Come in probably a bit shyer at first, and some imports, I suppose, but a really good guy. Lovely, so modest, but a great team sort of guy. And I think the big difference for me is a lot of times people, and it's easy to get sort of overshadowed by, a lot of teams want an import that will come in and score X, Y, Z. But I think what Matty brought was the package. We've just seen someone like Patrice Bergeron retire. I'm not saying anyone's in that bracket, but a two-way centerman that will play both ends of the ice, hard working. I think if you can get someone like that, it makes it so much easier. And I think if you're playing with him, it makes it easy. Obviously, I'm more of a grinder, so I didn't get much opportunity to play with Matty, but I think I played once away in Sheffield with him and just get the puck on the wall. He's going to be coming through for support. It just makes your life easier as a winger. And it's great if you have them two-way guys. And I think he sort of come into his own towards the end of the season because he was probably more of a grinder where he was before, and then he became that sort of first line complete centerman, chipping in with more points. But I think one of the things that went underrated with Matty was the fact that he could get people to just obviously at first perhaps he got goaded in by players, but in the end he knew not to retaliate and let them go to the box, and that helped us massively as well. But he was a star for us coming the end of the season, and bit of a shame he's not back. But we look forward to some fresh blood in the import front and see what they can offer.
100%. Go on, Charlie.
I think one of Raiders' biggest strengths is players like you, the third liners who work hard, but you do chip in. I can name some players here: Tommy Huggett, TJ Anderson, Jacob Ranson, obviously, Brandon Aliff, Ashley Jackson. These sorts of players. They're the players which may not get spoken about all the time, but when they're chipping in 20, 30, 15 points a season, it makes a huge difference. So how do you find your third line and playing around them and being one of probably the older guys with them as well?
Yeah, thanks for saying that.
I didn't mean it in a room.
Right, I don't mind.
Experience, guys.
Very cliche but old, but yeah. Yeah, I think I'll go back to NHL again. You look at the cup winners; it's always the third and fourth line guys that make the difference. And I'd like to think like if we can all play our part, we'll be the difference makers. Because at the end of the day, everyone should have two good top lines. You know, if not, you're not building your team right, sort of thing. You know, it's all about them sort of. Especially for us, more local guys that are going to put the work in and grind it out in difficult moments, and arguably like players like Brandon as well. He can play up and down the lineup, grinder. Myself, I'm happy to jump in wherever. Ended up playing D occasionally on the last seasons and wherever's needed. I think it's just important that we can play our role and, like you say, chip in where possible, but more importantly, just giving that outlet and playing that defensive role against other teams' lines and shutting them out and giving the other guys a relief and like I say, grinding it down. But like for me, I'm massively proud of myself on being a bit more of a defensive forward and what I like to think a bit of a PK specialist. So I think things like that and having players for different roles is vital. You can't have your imports playing every minute of every shift. It's not possible. So I think that's my point, that everyone's got to chip in, and if you have a solid base, you're lucky, and that will take you far. And I think we've found more and more with this National League, it's becoming such a sort of grueling fixture list, and you need that depth and you need everyone to play their part. Otherwise, you're not going to get very far. I think the teams with small squads found that out last year.
100%. You mentioned you're that grinder forward, and you also mentioned earlier you played out in Canada at such a young age as well. What was the decision behind that, being so young? And were you away from your family when you went to Canada as well?
Yeah, so I have some family in Canada, but I sort of managed to go over there sort of an hour away from where my family was to a hockey academy. My decision was I actually heard someone say to me, you were one of the first of that crop that went over to Canada, which was quite interesting. I've never really thought about it like that. But I know someone that played at Romford and went to Canada. And as soon as they went, I basically pestered my mum and dad saying, can I go to Canada? Can I go to Canada? Because obviously I'd been a few times and it's a different world. It's like football over here, isn't it, over there? And that's the dream if you're into hockey. So pestered. And I think weirdly, just like, it got to a stage and like my mum and dad were actually happy for me to go. Granted, probably hard for them. And when I got out there, I was sort of so excited. And I only just realised like a week in when I was 14, actually I'm on my own now. Like it's a pretty crazy world. But so it was a bit of just me pestering really, I suppose, that ended up getting me there. But that was 3 of the greatest years of my life, to be honest, playing out there and learning so much more about hockey than I ever knew. And probably arguably changing my style completely. I funny enough had this chat with Sean a while back, and he's even asked me like what changed, and it was it's quite interesting because when I went, I was probably without sounding too disrespectful for people, probably a stereotypical English player, get the puck, try to pull off some moves, go down, score, and try to get points. But I think my first game in Canada, I was very small compared to a lot of the Canadian kids. Got down the wing, tried to do my normal thing and got run over by like a 6'4" D-man and thought, no work here, is it? So they're a bit better than the juniors have been playing against. So it changed and adapt to that, and probably wouldn't look back really, because I sort of thrive and love playing the way I do now. So it was very eye-opening and got to play with some amazing players and some amazing tournaments and see parts of Canada and America that I probably would have never dreamt to. So it was a really good experience, and anyone that can go at a young age, please do, is my message.
100%. I think there's a lot of players now, younger players who, because there's so much more players coming in the English ice hockey ranks, I think go out abroad and go play the European hockey or the Canadian hockey. I think that's a really good message for them. You then went to Sweden, so you actually went to the European side of hockey as well. How did you find it out in Sweden?
Very cold, but, very different style of hockey. But yeah, it was. I'd say I went. I basically come home and I decided I probably wasn't ready to be at home, and then got an opportunity to go for a skate in Sweden and took it, and then end up spending the season there. It was quite hard with the language barrier and not having much to do outside of just playing, but it was great because it was a different style of hockey again, wide ice, lots of puck moving, less chippy. Probably personally preferred the Canadian style, but it was very eye-opening for me and allowed me to get back to skating down the wing a bit more than I probably was in Canada, which was good. Yeah, very, very good experience again, and a different sort of cultural experience. I think not only the hockey, it's great to learn different cultures and sort of broaden your horizons as a person, which is great. And another sort of avenue for kids that want to go, I would again say go out there, but I would say it's probably best to go young. I think a lot of English kids still probably go too late for me.
100%. Charlie, have you got another question to pop over?
After that, you went into the men's hockey world. How was that? You started off. You had a two-way with Romford and MK. I don't know if it was a two-way, but you played for both teams. MK Thunder and London. Sorry.
Yeah, so I came back, and obviously Romford had just moved to Lee Valley, where the rink had shut at the time. Had a pretty solid team still from the old Ron Valley squad. Sort of found minutes hard to sort of come by, and it sort of was agreed at Christmas that I perhaps wanted to play more. I didn't want to keep sitting on the bench constantly, which I think is tough for a lot of kids. And then got the opportunity to go Thunder, and it was a pretty crazy one because it was when they was in that temporary rink that was like the size of a Christmas rink, but it was great fun, to be fair. It was a real different experience. It was probably like a 3-on-3 rink that you're playing 5-on-5 hockey, and it was chaos, which was great fun. Got me back in sort of playing and regularly, and then played the second half of the season there, and then straight away back to Raiders for the following season to get some more minutes, really, and sort of get back to sort of hometown team.
Well, do you think that brief move to MK helped you, because the next season you played at Romford, you actually got 16 points, which is much more points than you got when you're previously at Romford. So do you think going out on loan, getting the minutes, proving that you are that player that they need in the team?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was young at the time and been away for a while, I suppose. So I just think I needed to prove that I could play men's hockey and get the minutes to do so. I didn't really have any doubt in myself that I'd end up probably back at Raiders the following season. In a way, it was sort of almost felt like a loan spell, like you would get in football. But yeah, I think it helped. And then the following season was a great one because, for me personally, not for probably Raiders as a team because we struggled a bit, but I sort of got loads more minutes, got to play some big moment occasions. Managed to pick up some awards at the end of the season individually, which was great for me, and sort of confidence at the time as well. When you first step up into men's hockey, it was a really good individual season, but obviously not so much for the team, which makes it a bit of an odd one. But when you're at that age, you're sort of trying to find your feet. It's good for confidence.
Yeah, I want to go back to Raiders now. You're playing for Romford, and is there any targets you're setting yourself for next season? Obviously, you had a very good end to the season as a team and yourself as well, playing in playoffs. Is there any targets you've made for yourself ready for next season?
I wouldn't say necessarily for myself. I mean, I'm very much, like I say, pride myself on being that defensive forward that can help out wherever I can for the team. I always set myself mini targets. Going back to MK Thunder days, one of them started then. We were getting thrashed some games, but my sort of mini goals personally was don't be on the ice for goals against, and plus minus, make sure it's important, like it's good. And that as a forefront of my game, because I know I'm doing my job then, and then that's benefiting the team. So that's probably always my personal target. Obviously, goes without saying, I'd like to always chip in and stick around at least a similar point mark. Like to get my goals back up. I think they've sort of dropped off a bit occasionally the last few years. And obviously, as a team, the goal's got to be to get back to Coventry and try and go that step further. It's going to be harder, don't get me wrong, because teams have got stronger. There's more imports at teams, and some teams' imports are looking very good. But you've got to set the bar high and keep pushing for it. And I think the league, obviously, we've got to strive for better every year. So we've got to push for higher position. But definitely that taste in your mouth, it's never nice losing in a final, no matter if you've achieved over the odds. So you want to go back and make it right.
I wanted to bring up one more player, your captain, Aaron Connolly. He made the move from Bison. Did you play with him at Bison as well for that brief season you were there?
Yeah, I did. And obviously, I've known Aaron for a long time as well. We, funny enough, played in the Thames Terrors together when Invicta and Romford merged in the under-10s. So I've known Aaron from day dot, basically, but hadn't played with him for quite a while. And then managed to link up with him a bit at Basingstoke. I was on a two-way at the time, so that was a great experience playing with him. Like guys like Joe Greener, Thomas Karpov, some real top players, and that team like Joe Rand, another one. Just the names are endless really on that team, and that was a really good experience for me. And got to see a side of Aaron, like captain. He used to bark at everyone when he was at Basingstoke. I don't know if
we know.
Yeah.
Not so much now, but I'll try to get him to do it to me when I want to get G'd up, because I enjoy it. So, great all-round guy and captain. And obviously been at Romford for quite a while now. It doesn't feel sort of time flies, I suppose. But he's always going to be the heartbeat of a team, and hopefully he can continue to be so.
The final player.
Go on, Charlie.
The final player I had to ask about was the young kid TJ Anderson. He was lights out in Coventry. How much potential has this guy got? Because he's very underrated in my opinion as a youngster in the league.
Yeah, he's got endless potential, a lot of skill set. Just needs to stay grounded now and sort of know that it's probably going to get a bit harder before it gets better, I think is the key for anyone that age. I think we've all been there and seen it. There'll be moments where you don't get your own way. There's going to be some good D-men that he's not perhaps faced yet. But if he can knuckle down and pull that all together, he's going to be a good player. So hopefully that, like I say, it's just that key point in your career now where you're between the ages of 18 to your early 20s, where you have to knuckle down and make it work, and know that you might have to do things differently sometimes as well, like chip pucks in or whatever, to make it work. And I think on your note of underrated talents, I'm excited to see some of the younger guys we've signed for the under 18s as well. Brindley Caps looks a great prospect for us, and Tomlin as well. Both good kids. Been on the ice obviously when we have been. Both looking good. So another two that hopefully we can keep our eyes out for as well, and keep Romford producing some good youngsters.
Oh, you brought in you got Zach Milton on a two-way as well with Elite League, so he's definitely going to be big for the team. Charlie, you always end with this question. Go on, ask it.
Yeah. What is your message for the fans, Jacob?
I think just be loud, be proud, be the Romford fan base of Ron Valley Way days. Make it hard for teams, make it horrible, and that's basically it. I think we had a great support at Coventry, and we want more of that, and more great moments and more historic moments as a club and as a fan base and a team.
Thank you for hopping on. We appreciate it, and we wish you luck for next season. We'll see you down in Swindon.
No worries. See you there.
Thank you. Welcome back. Thank you again, Jacob, for hopping on. Just a really nice guy. And as we said, we had a chat with him for 10, 15 minutes after as well. And Raiders, they look so much better than they did last season. They're going to be very tough to play at their rink.
A lot of them teams which finish 6 and below just improved a lot. And we've been going through their squad, and the depth of this Raiders team is one of the best in the league depth wise for players. They can cope with an injury.
yeah, if they get a couple of injuries, they've got players to come in straight away. They've got some youngsters who look really, really promising, and they're going to be playing in the Raiders too. I think they're on 2 ways, are they, Charlie?
And that's NHL 1. So they've got a great system where players can play in just the level below and the level above. So they can mix it between the two, and the players are already ready.
It's still a men's league, which they'll have to get used to in the weight of the league. So, yeah, let's get into it then. So who are some of the players which they will not have next season? Because they have lost a few big bodies and some skillful players as well. So who are the 2 imports which have left? I did mention it earlier.
Imports were Matthew Gomesick and Alex Roberts, which are big losses, but we've gone across them. They lost the D-man Dan Scott. I know he wasn't there at the end of last year, but I still think that is a big loss for them. And then probably the biggest loss out of them all is a Brit player, because Brits are hard to replace, but they have done a good job at replacing them, is Harry Gulliver going to the MK Lightning, of course. But how good was Harry Gulliver last year? Let me quickly tell you his stats before. 53 points in 51 games, a point a game for a British player. What do you think of Gulliver, man?
Really, really good player. We've seen him when he was all the way in the cage, and he's progressed so much. He's so skillful. I think he's not only quick, he's just got good hands, but he can also cope with the weight of the league as well. It's not one of these youngsters who still haven't got used to the weight league. He can play in this men's league, and I think MK, he's going to be dangerous for MK. I think he's going to suit that big ice, and I think that might be one of the reasons why he's gone to Milton Keynes. So yeah, it will be a loss, but they've brought in, I'd say, an even better Brit, in my opinion, who's on a 2-way. But should we get into let's go through their team they've got signed up for this year, because they've got a very big roster. So it's going to take a bit of time to get through this. So, Charlie, do you want to go through their goalkeeping tandem? I don't think anyone's changed. I could be wrong.
Ethan James and Bradley Widebank. And you got that crack for once, Jack.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I'll go.
Yeah, I think it's a solid goalkeeping. Ethan James is still young, and he proved, especially in the games we watched against Swindon, he can stand on his head in games. He's young, but he can stand on his head. And I think he's got a lot to learn. And I think playing so much last season and the season before, he's almost getting used to playing against these big bodies who drive towards the net. So he can certainly handle this league, and he's got another youngster with him as well. Windlebank's he's not old. So yeah, it's a young goalkeeping partnership. Yeah, I think it's a solid, and I think the D-men have got to help him out.
Yeah, I think you have to protect this goalie partnership. I think Ethan James on his day is a phenomenal goalie, and I think he's growing and he's developing. Widebank did struggle a bit last year, but they did rotate well, which is quite nice to see. 42 games for Ethan James and 17 for Widebank.
Yeah.
Widebank struggled at times with an 8.61 save percentage, but I definitely can see him improving on that. Ethan James with an 8.93 save percentage, which is very good for this league. And I think he definitely had a better second half to the season than first half. So if he can keep that going for a full year, I think he can maybe hit that 90% save percentage, which will be huge for him.
Yeah, I like James. Our mum loves James as well. She loves the afro, and I think everyone loves that about Ethan James's afro coming out his helmet. So yeah,
the cool looking dude.
Yeah, it's a solid goalkeeping partnership, and James. I know this is a very big level to put, but he's the size and reminds me a tiny bit of Stevie Lowell. I think he's the exact same size. He's not like a big keeper like a Headley or a Smittle or a McLaughlin, but he can still cover the goal well, and he's a bit more athletic. So he's a different type of keeper, and I think it will be interesting going to next season. But the D have got to help him out, haven't they, Charlie? So they've brought in the big import D-man. Should we start with him, Charlie, because he is the main guy?
Luc Leclerc.
Yep, Lorette.
He's Canadian, as per with these imports. 25, so in that middle-aged sort of category, and he's just played 3 seasons.
In the U Sports
league, and then he also, at the end of his U Sports time, went to another league in the SPHL, which is a professional men's hockey league over there, which is great for them in my opinion.
Yeah,
and I don't think he looks too bad. He hasn't scored points, but I don't think he needs to, because these Canadians will come in and they will be a hockey IQ level above. They will know how to move that puck well, and that's what Raiders need in their D-core. Someone who's a big body who can move the puck well.
I've said it before in other decors, 6'3". He's a big body. He's a big man. And you're going to want him to protect Ethan James. So, yeah, I think that's a really good sign. And I think they had to sign an import D-man because of... We bang on about it all the time, but the levels of the forwards are much better than the levels of the D-men in our league. So, yeah, I think it was the perfect decision to go over import D. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I do. And he's 100 kilos on this thing. Massive. Like,
it's a big body, yeah.
Like if he gets going,
yeah,
he could be picking up some hefty penalty minutes because we know what our league's like. But no, I like the look of him, and I think in that Raiders rink, he's just gonna have the
yeah. He's gonna get it going. He's gonna get it going because he's a big man. The rest of the D-men is re-signings again. We've seen them last year. They got a couple of older ones, and they've got some younger ones as well. We'll start with Mikey Power because on here he's as a forward and he can play as a forward. But me and you actually prefer him in D-man, don't we?
Yeah, I think he performed well in D-man last year. I hate the saying big body because you use it all the time, but he is physical in that Raiders rink, and he moves the puck well. He got lots of points. I believe he played there most of last year, and I definitely slot him in this decor. I liked him when he played D-man. I think he'll struggle a bit more on a bigger rink, but at home he's perfect for them as decor. And they've got other players like him, like Jack Cooper and Thomas Ralph and Callum Wells, who are all good at hitting, all good at playing the physical side. And they've actually got probably the biggest size-wise decor in the league.
I'd agree. I'd say they're not the scary. It's not scary, but they are the scariest in a way. They're the biggest. They're the players you don't want to mess with, and they'll all drop the gloves as well. I think Ralph is the more technical one. Could we agree? I think
Ralph and the Canadian. I can imagine this Canadian will know how to move a puck well.
Ralph knows how to put the puck in the net, and he every season he's the one who's the top of the point scoring as a D-man. So I can definitely see Ralph being the point scoring one. But yeah, Dewey's been in the league a long time. Barry's been in the league a long time. Barry, every time at the Swindon rink, me and you hate it, actually. They just chant Barry, but we absolutely hate that chant. But yeah, decor, all right?
Yeah, it's not bad. I think there's some pressure on this import D-man to pick up the points as well as defend well. But no, I think it's a good decor at this level. It's in that middle pack of decors, in my opinion.
You want the big bodies to go in front of Ethan James as well, who is a little lad. So, yeah, I think it's all right. A lot of experience as well. A lot of experience.
This is built for their home rink, I think. Just massive, hard-hitting, annoying. It's going to be
And another guy, the last one, Marco Pascal, he actually had a big role in playoffs because they had quite a few injuries. He played for the Raiders too, and he did quite well in the NHL one. So it'd be interesting to see how much he improves this season because I thought he was able to keep up with our league.
He scored a point a game at the league below level, so maybe he's that guy who maybe develops into their third pair, maybe takes over someone like Wow's spot and gets some more points.
Yeah, I actually rate him. He was one I picked out at playoffs, so I thought he's got a lot of potential. So he's only 19 years old. So yeah,
the other players wanting to play really hard, so they don't lose their spot to the young players. And I think this is what this Raiders team's got a good balance of.
Yep, having a lot of players is not a bad thing whatsoever. It creates competition, and with a coach like Sean Easton as well, he's definitely going to give everyone an equal opportunity. Let's get into the forward core. There is a lot of players. There is a lot of players. So. Should we get into where do we start? You can choose because you're
we're going to kick it off with the two imports.
Okay.
Because why not? Adam Leishram, you know what you're going to get. Played really well at Raiders last year. Scored 19 points in 10 games, which is casually nearly 2 points a game.
Yeah.
He seems to like it in Raiders. So nice little pick up there. I think you'll agree.
Yeah, he's played in the OHL and he's played in the U Sports as well. And he actually got decent points when he played in those Canadian leagues. I think he did struggle a bit with the physicality, would you say? Because a lot of these Canadians can
count it out in the Raiders team. I think he's got the big boys.
I think maybe that could be a reason why he struggled a bit in MK in terms of getting the best out of him because he played with other players who weren't as big. I don't know. Yeah. I could be wrong. Let us know in the comments. But I think he'll be good this season. He's very technical. He does know how to put the puck in the net and he's one of the best skaters in the league. So, yeah, Leishram's a good bring in. And then they've got a new one, Nick Leyer, Charlie. Do you want to talk us through him?
23, 5'9", so a bit shorter. Played in the AJHL, which is just an American league. Didn't actually play any uni/college hockey like most of these players. Just went straight into, I guess, the men's and youth game. And he also spent last year with a bit in the Canadian league and a bit in the Swedish league. Yeah, I like the look of him. I think he's going to be hungry. He's a bit younger than the others, and he's going to have a point to prove. And they've taken probably a risk on him. I think he's more of a risky import.
Yeah.
But he definitely could pay off. You don't really know what to expect from these Canadians at times.
He's, what did you say, 5'9"?
Yeah, he's going to be quick, nimble, ready to go.
I think
the skill maybe they need in this forward core.
Yeah, perhaps they do need a bit more skillful, quick players. I'm not saying Gomesick and Roberts were bad, but they've got the big players around them. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do. And, there's nothing really to say. We just got to see how they do next season. Let's get into some of the... should we get to the new boys in attack? Because they've signed two big boys.
But I think we go on to the big boys. We'll talk about the returnees when we do our lines.
Yeah.
So the big boys are the Basingstoke boys. They are benefit Stoke, sadly going. George Norcliffe, the captain.
Massive.
He had the best season of his career last year.
Yeah.
Really taking a step up. 29 years old, hitting his prime, 6'2". He's Rapidino, and he scored 57 points in 55 games. He got given an armband, and he really took a step up last year. And just what a signing for the Raiders. Yeah. That's the Gulliver replacement right there.
Yeah, he's a different player to Gulliver, but with these small imports, he's going to be playing next to him, and I think that will suit him. So I think it's a perfect signing. I know I'm going to use this term again, but he could be quite underrated. I can't call everyone underrated, but no, it's a really good signing. But they've got an even better signing in. Go on, you can say it.
I love him to bits. And Zach Milton, 22 years old, 6 foot, but 64 points in 56 games last year in a Basingstoke team, which, if we're being honest, struggled a bit. He's going to be joining a Raiders team, which is going to be thriving in the attacking world. And oh my days, he's going to play top line minutes with Aaron Connolly, probably. 64 points with a two-way with Guildford, training with the Guildford Flames.
It's the perfect signing, and I think every club in the league would have wanted Zach Milton. I'm sure every club got in contact with him when Basingstoke were going bust or getting rebuilt, because he is one of the strongest guys in the league. So it'll be interesting to see if he does get many games for Guildford, because if he does get chosen, I don't know what do you know what the plan is? Whether who has priority?
I think Guildford probably could pick him if they needed him, but I think he will play most games with Raiders, if I'm being honest. Guildford have their British players. So, he's got a big opportunity to basically prove himself in the league to get to the Elite League next year. So, this is his season, I guess, to hit that.
And maybe. Guildford do give some opportunities, don't they? We've seen a couple of players go to Guildford here and there.
But, no, I think he'll be with Raiders and he's going to thrive.
Yeah. Should we get into the players who've returned then? Who's going to be playing around him? Aaron Connolly. You know what you're getting with him. What's it? It's 4th season, 5th season. He's just the perfect captain. He is.
Not much more needing to be said. Brandon Ailiff. You love him.
I love Ailiff. He's for me, he's probably, with Colby, the quickest guy in the league, in my opinion. Let us know. We always have this debate. Who's the quickest in the league? But I think Ailiff's got to be up there.
Neil Lydiard's up there as well. Now on to some of the other players. I will quickly just go through them before the lines. Jake Sylvester, you know what you're going to get. He's going to slap some goals in.
Yeah.
Jacob Ransom, obviously. Then you've got Ashley Jackson, a nice little underrated two-way player. And then TJ Anderson, the young lad, with some two-ways of Bradley Capps, who's born in 2007. I feel young. I feel old when that says.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Joe Tomlin.
Owen Dow from Invicta. He played in America. He nearly scored 1.5 points a game in the league below, so definitely a really nice depth piece. And then finally, Joe Tomlin, who's also 2007 from the juniors. So yeah, nice piece. But let's get into the lines, Jack.
Yeah, the lines, because I think we'll actually be able to say, you'll know the players more in our lines. So I think we do have similar lines because we did talk about it a bit before. Let's get into the D pairings because I think we do have the same lines. I've got on the top line Pierre, the import, and Ralph. I think you just go bold, you go heavy. What do you reckon?
I've got the same D pairing, and I think you let them suck up some minutes.
Yeah.
I think they've got that's such a balanced, nice pair in there.
Yeah.
And one of the best pairings in the league, probably, if this import does stand out. And yeah, not much more to be said for that.
I think with the top two, they're going to play a lot of minutes, and then if you're winning in the game, you can then give some more minutes to the more experienced ones, and you can also play Pierre, and I think you can balance it out. But yeah, they're going to be the top two, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Pierre actually on the power play as the man in on the blue line. So yeah, Pierre and Ralph as the first line, and then we're putting Power as a D man because we impress. So Power and Cooper, is that what you got as well?
I have gone for Power and Cooper. That's just going to bully people, really. Power actually adds offensive points, and Cooper's a very shut down D man, so I quite like that element to it.
Yeah,
but you've still on the second D pair got that attacking element to it. So yeah, nice little D pair.
Cooper, actually, what I'll say with Cooper, I don't really notice him much, but actually, if you don't notice a player too much as a defenseman, that's normally a good thing because it means they're not really doing anything wrong and they're just doing their job. So yeah, I think that's a good thing that you don't really notice him too much because he's doing all the basics right. So yeah, I think he's decent. And then the third line, I've got Wells and Dewey, but you've got Pascale as well. If you say, is it Pascale?
Yeah, so I've got Wells and Dewey, and basically, for me, I'd rotate minutes of Wells and Pascale if you're going to choose to bring Pascale. And Barry as well. So you could play 4 lines, to be fair, with D, but I've never really seen it done. So for me, I would rotate minutes of Pascale and Wells because I think Pascale shows he deserves to play in this league. And I think Wells is slightly one of their weaker D-men. So I think rotating them two for me personally would be...
Well, if you think about it, if Power doesn't play as a D-man, they've then just got 7 D. So one player's going to be rotated in. So it might not be 4 lines. Power might not be playing D.
So he could,
we'll have to see. Let's get on to the forwards then, because this is a very stacked forward core. And yeah, looking at it right now, they're going to be dangerous. I don't want to come up against them if we're not on our A game. So top line, I've got Zach Milton, Aaron Connolly, and Leia. Is that your top line as well?
That is my top line as well. Leia's getting a huge opportunity there, playing with 2 of the best British players in the league.
Yeah,
and that's a good line.
Yeah, there's nothing else to say. They've
got good lines. We know they're going to perform this year, and they're going to be a good team.
Second line, Norcliffe as the centre. Now, Basingstoke fans, let us know, did Norcliffe play centre last season? It doesn't say he's a centre on Elite Prospects.
I think he doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's why I was risking whether we put him on there or not. But we've got Norcliffe as the centre, and then Sylvester and Lasham as the wingers. This is just class, isn't it? And then third line, we've got Novak as the centre, Alif and TJ Anderson, but I'd also play Ranson sometimes on that third line and get TJ implementing some in just like he did last season. I know you love TJ Anderson.
I love TJ Anderson, and TJ Anderson plays every minute of that third line.
You're terrible.
I love him.
And this is why Charlie sat on the podcast waffling and not one of the coaches in the league. So, no disrespect to TJ Anderson. I just think he's still young. What, 19 years old, 20 years old?
I've got a point to make. Ransom, Ashley Jackson, and a youngster for me, you can just play as a shutdown line. Just use it as a shutdown line. And I'd put Ashley Jackson and Ransom as one of the 2 PK units.
Yeah.
But for me, TJ Anderson is, I'll say it as it is, I think he's one of the most talented under-20s players in the league.
Yeah, he is. He did look very talented. I think he needs...
18 years old, and you need to give him that ice time and let the guy thrive, because in 2-3 years, I see him being in a top 6.
He's skillful. Right, this is what I'll say on him. I think he's really skillful. He's got a lot of potential. He knows how to score. I just think he needs a bit more time to play in the men's league. I still think he might need to build a bit because he is quite like a small chap. I don't know. Let me know. But that's why
30 points in the league this year. He's a joke. I'm telling you.
Big expectations. But no, I think he's got a lot of potential. He's still young. And I think depending on the circumstance within the game, if you're trying to kill off a game, I think Ranson is the perfect player to put on that third line to just shut it all down. So yeah, I think it depends on the game, but they've got the depth to play 3-4 lines, and Sean Easton's definitely going to do that because he is a coach who plays that way, and that's why they got to the playoff finals, I think. So
they've got players which and Ransom talks about on the podcast, but I'm going to mention it again. When you've got Ashley Jackson and Ransom, who can be fully fresh for a penalty killing unit, it makes it the world of a difference.
Yeah.
When you've got even Alif, he can play penalty kill really well as well. So Alif, Ransom, and Ashley Jackson all can go straight on the PK, give their top two lines a rest, and then go again. And that's what I really like for Raiders is they've got third liners who PK, and a lot of teams in this league use top two liners to PK, fire out their top lines, and it makes a huge difference.
And they did it last season. They did use Ranson and the likes of Jackson as PK players, and it gives those top players rest. So yeah, I think it's really good. What should we do first? Expectations or ones to watch? What do you want to do first?
Expectations first.
Expectations. What's your expectations next season?
Top 6.
Wow.
Top 6 for Raiders.
Oh.
Their team's stacked on paper. They've got depth. They can cope with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Their imports, all 3 of them are... Well, Latram, I think we know what we're going to get. He'll at least get a point a game. But the other 2, we're just a bit like, we don't really know what to expect. But their British forward core and their British D-men are good. You have to build on last year for me. They've added Zach Milton and Norcliffe into this forward core. They've got youngsters like Pascal and TJ Anderson growing. For me, top 6 and potentially push into that top 5. But I think 6.
I'm not saying they can't get top 5 or top 6. I think they should be happy with getting playoffs. I think it's going to be so competitive from that 4th. I think there's 4 standout teams or 3 standout teams. And then from that 4th to 11th, I think it's going to be so competitive and scrappy to get that. And I think their home form is going to give them a massive advantage because they are so good at home and it is very intimidating to play at home. And I think they will pick up some more away wins. So I think they can definitely get top 6. But as you said, everyone's improved. I think they're going to finish 6th or 7th. You're seeing my predictions, but I think I don't think they should be disappointed with top 7 if they can upset some teams in the playoffs as well. We'll have to see. Let us know in the comments. What's your expectations with them?
I think this Raiders team is stacked.
It is, yeah, and they've got a good coach. So I'm not saying that, but I think it just depends. It's so hard. I think predictions is so hard. But we'll have to see. Wants to watch.
You go first.
Oh, because we all know what yours is going to be. Right, I'll go with mine. I had a couple, but I'm going to go with George Norcliffe. I think he's the replacement for Gulliver. He's a different kind of replacement. He was captain last season for Basingstoke. I think he's got a massive role on that second line. If he's going to play that centre role, he's got to help out, I think, Latram, or if he plays with Leia, I think he's got to be the protector of them in a way, let them do their bit, and he does all the scrappy bits, all the stuff you want to do as a centre. He's going to be that two-way player as well. I'm going to go with George Norcliffe as my ones to watch. He's not a youngster. It doesn't have to be a youngster, these ones to watch. So I'm going with Norcliffe. Who's your ones to watch? Here we go.
TJ Anderson. What a player. What a man. What a player. 18 years of age. He bags goals for fun. He's got one of the best shots for an 18-year-old in the league, if not the best. The kids are madness, and he is going to bag this year. I've been on this TJ Anderson hype since
That's one thing I'll give you, and one thing.
Back on it. And then the man bags 2 at the Coventry in the semi-final. The kid's something special. I really believe it. And I'm seeing 25 to 30 points for TJ Anderson.
I think he's a really good prospect, and he's got the skills. He's got as we used to say when we were younger, he's got the skills to pay the bills. So TJ Anderson's a good pick, and I think we all knew you were going to go for that. But that's one thing with you. You did predict it from the start. You're not very good with I'm joking, but it's one of the things you predict from the start. Thank you very much, Ranson, for hopping on. We really enjoyed the interview. I'm sure we'll have him on again in the future sometime. Let us know in the comments if you're on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, at Macca's Talk Hockey, who's your ones to watch from the Raiders. And we'll be trying to get I think we've got Peterborough, Hull, and Hull's coming out next, and then we've got Peterborough and MK to do, and then we're done for our teams, and it's our predictions, which we'll do a week before the season starts. So, thank you, Charlie, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
A bosh.